You can see it here. The first piece, we destructed the insulation. The second piece, okay, there was one small point, destructing insulation, and it's really absolutely necessary not to ruin the insulation, because if you get the short circuit here, nothing will work and you will stay angry, and I know what happens in this case. All the people will think, okay, just another cheat. Well, now we have two possibilities. We can wind it clockwise or we can wind it counterclockwise. It doesn't make any effect if you do it clockwise or counterclockwise. The only difference is if you make it on the inside coil clockwise, you have to make it on the outside coil clockwise too. So I decide to make it in this direction. So if you see, I will turn the tube clockwise. And now, very important, please count please count the rounds. So we started with round number 1, number 2, and every time when I get back to the hole, number 3, number 4, I will count. Number 5. So now we come to the next very important point. Please stop to wind the coil approximately 5 to 7 millimeters before you come to the small hole here. I hope you can see it. Now, in this moment, it's very important to get some insulation tape, and it's very important too to make the coil as near as possible together. So it's not very good if you have some great spaces between. So it would help to make another winding instead of having some place here. The better you make this coil, the better the power will come out of the pyramid. So now with the next problem. It's very bad organized, this video, because we don't have any insulation tape here at hand. Okay, we have to use this one. We need the insulation tape only for a small moment. You will see why, because we have to block our coil not to open when we go through the other hole. So I hope this works. Another very tricky part of the whole pyramid. We have to cut off here. If you ruin the insulation when you go through the next small hole, you have to do all the work again. But we will check it on the end. And so I hope we will not ruin the coil in our first attempt. It's a little bit tricky, and please, of course, work slowly or work with brain. So the possibility is here to make it not twice. It's a little bit tricky. Don't use any tools to make this, because with all kinds of tools you can make more damage than it will have. Then it will help you. You see, it's really tricky. But with a little bit of practice, you will keep this. The major goal is not to destroy the insulation. So normally at demonstration mode we will destroy it, but maybe we have some good luck. We will see it in a few seconds. Okay, so I think we can accept this. Put the coil together. Okay, and then we have to check our construction. And we have to count the windings again, because I'm not 100% sure if everything is okay. So we keep our multimeter. So we go through. Okay, what happens? Sounds damaged. Not a good day to get damaged. Okay. Now it's working. So now we have to check the metal of the coil. Okay. Looks good. Metal and metal. And of course, coil of coil, it can't be destructed, but it's only a counter check. So we can guarantee that our insulation is okay. We can try it also with a high ohmage. Okay, 1.2. Sounds great. 20K, 200K, 2 meg, 20 meg. Okay. Okay. Well, we have 97 windings now. It's a little bit less than I have normally. Normally, the last try I had 104 and 107. So we will not get our 14 to 15 volts. We will get about 10, 10.5, 11, 11.5 volts. We have to see. But after the coil was working in the first attempt and I didn't destroy the insulation, I don't want to wind it again. So this little bit of space, it's only a loss of energy, nothing else. It's very important to keep the insulation tape away before we go to the next step. So, and if I would have better eyes, I would see the end, and here it is. Here it is. Okay. So we don't need this anymore. Okay. And now we prepare us for the next, and in reality the only real dangerous moment, because now we have to work with high voltage or with high frequency. You can decide it for yourself. Prepare for the next part. Next step. Now we have to keep the grate tube and the coil together. So we will put it inside for approximately 2 or 3 millimeters. Not too much, because we need the place on the other side for the other piece too. And in this case, we will make it very cheap, of course, with insulation tape. It's a very cheap construction, you see, and as I told you in the beginning, I want to keep it as easy as you can do it. So I don't want to discuss with some people if you need some very expensive machines or something else. I want to show you, you can make this even in Africa without any tool. So, and now we prepare for the only real dangerous part of all the thing. Because now we need some quartz sand, you know it from V6, and we have to fill in quartz sand. But that's not the problem, to fill some quartz sand inside. It's the problem, we have to fill it in rightly. This was one part of the secrets we had in 2006-2007, and nobody knows what the quartz sand will do inside of all the technique. And maybe you can remember, we used quartz sand and salt water to start the reaction. But I found out the salt water is counterproductive because it's eating the copper, and I tried to find a better solution, and now we'll show you the better solution. But for this we have to replace the camera a little bit to get some new place for seeing something, and we have to organize a few things here. So what we need is some pieces of wood, because now we are working with a high voltage or high frequency. You can decide it for yourself. And we want to insulate all that a little bit. Oh look, there are some neodymium magnets. I searched more than 6 months and now I found them. It was a good idea to make this video, so this gave me back my magnets. Okay, so now you see what I built here. I know it looks very poor, but it's okay if it looks poor. This wire we will put very far away from the body, because now we have to decide which kind of electricity we will use. Well, the next part is a little bit complicated, and I will show it you with a video by hand. What we have here now is a power supply, a little bit too great for this what I want to do now, but I don't have a functioning smaller one. We need an old CB, what's the name, transceiver, and we need an SWR meter and a small amplifier with 35 or 40 or 50 watts. So what did we do now? We try to get some high voltage and high frequency into our tube. So if you can look, we go with the cable out of the CB, we go into the amplifier, from the amplifier to the SWR meter, and from the SWR meter we go to our produced coil. Well, on the downside, the wire inlet, we gave the hot wire, and the grounding I connected to the outside copper tube. That's very important, because now we want to fill some quartz sand inside of the tube, directly between this distance between the wire, the coil, and the outside tube. And it's very important if we do this. While we do this, we need the high power, the high energy, the high voltage and the high frequency inside of the tubes. Why? I found out that if you fill some quartz sand inside, the quartz sand will get some compression, some inert compression, and you cannot produce any electricity if the quartz particles are laying around as they like. But if you fill in the quartz sand under a high voltage condition, the quartz will fall inside directly. I don't know the name in English. They are formed. You will see that in the next part of the video. Hello again. We have Saturday, June 25th of 2011. Now, after a little bit of spaghetti, I will make the second half of producing the pyramide, and meanwhile the main actor arrived. One sack of quartz sand. It's a very cheap product. Normally it's used for the filters in swimming pools. If you buy some quartz sand, please be careful that you get some dry sand and that the corn is not greater than 2 millimeter each piece. So you have to control the amount of quartz inside have to be very